All right, so welcome to another deep dive, and today we are going to get into surgical ethics.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
It's a fascinating area.
yeah, it's a place where you have life-saving skills, but
Mm-hmm.
incredibly difficult choices sometimes.
Yes,
And
definitely.
we are representative of TORG,
That's right.
the Operating Room Global.
Mm-hmm.
So glad to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Make sure you follow and share this deep dive with your friends.
Yeah, we'd love for you to do that.
We want to explore more topics like this one,
Yes.
and our guide for today's deep dive is surgical ethics,
Mm.
navigating dilemmas in the operating room.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is some of these scenarios.
Yeah.
They're just,
Right out of a medical drama.
they really are.
It's true.
So it's really a high-stakes world.
It is.
You know, we think a lot about surgeons'
Mhm.
technical abilities,
Yeah.
but there's this whole other layer
Absolutely.
of ethical decision-making
Yeah.
that goes on in every
Every
surgery.
single.
It starts even before the first incision, right?
Yeah.
With this idea of informed consent.
Absolutely.
But what happens
Mhm.
when a patient can't actually give consent,
Right.
like in an emergency?
A true emergency.
What happens then?
Yeah, you're talking about situations where if you wait for consent,
Yeah,
you're going to lose the patient.
right.
So imagine someone comes in unconscious after a car accident,
Mm-hmm.
and in that moment, the surgeon has to act
Right,
in the best interest of the patient,
right.
assuming they would want life-saving treatment.
Uh-huh.
It's called the principle of beneficence,
Okay.
doing good,
Yeah.
even without explicit permission.
Right.
And it can be a heavy burden,
I bet.
knowing that you don't actually know the patient's wishes.
Yeah, because what if the patient
Mm.
doesn't want treatment, even in a life or death situation?
Right.
You're kind of making that choice for them.
That's right.
Sometimes, even when a patient can consent,
Mm-hmm.
they might refuse treatment
Right.
for personal reasons
Oh, so
or
far.
religious reasons.
Mm.
I remember reading about a case where a patient refused a blood transfusion,
Wow.
even though it was life-saving,
Right.
due to their beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
That must be so hard to navigate as a surgeon.
It really is, because a surgeon's responsibility is to provide the best possible care.
Right.
But you have to balance that with respecting the patient's autonomy,
Right.
their right to make decisions about their own body.
Mm-hmm.
Shared decision-making is really crucial here.
So really explaining everything.
Having open and honest conversations,
Yeah.
explaining all the risks and benefits, and then ultimately respecting the patient's choice,
Even if it's a hard one.
even if it's really difficult.
Communication is as vital as any surgical tool,
Absolutely.
it seems
Yeah.
like.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It's true.
But sometimes even the best communication can't change the reality of limited resources.
Right.
So how do surgeons decide who gets priority
Mm-hmm.
when there's just not enough of something? Whether it's organ donors or specialists,
Mm-hmm.
or even just time in the OR.
You're talking about resource allocation,
Yeah.
and that forces us to grapple with this idea of justice.
Yeah,
How do we distribute limited resources fairly?
that's a tough one.
It's a complex ethical dilemma with no easy answers.
Yeah, like how do you even start to choose?
Right. Imagine organ transplantation.
Yep.
You have a young person with a whole life ahead of them
Right.
and an older person,
Mm-hmm.
and they both need a life-saving organ.
Right.
How do you decide who gets it?
It's heart-wrenching.
It really is.
It really is.
It is.
Every decision feels so heavy.
Mm.
I wonder, with all the advancements in technology,
Yeah.
do algorithms play a role in any of this?
They do, and that brings a whole new set of ethical concerns.
Right, because you would think they could be really helpful in making some of these choices.
Yeah, they can help streamline processes, but they can also reflect existing biases
Right.
in the data that they're trained on. So, for example, if an algorithm is used to allocate resources,
Uh-huh.
it could unintentionally disadvantage certain groups of people
Yeah.
if the data that it's based on already reflects healthcare disparities.
So it's not just about the technology itself.
Wow.
That's how it's developed and applied.
Exactly.
That brings us to another ethically complex area,
Mm-hmm.
end-of-life care.
Yeah.
When is surgery considered futile?
Mm.
Like when does prolonging life
Mm-hmm.
become more about extending suffering?
You've hit on one of the most difficult conversations a surgeon will ever have.
I bet.
So imagine a situation where surgery might add a few months to a patient's life,
Okay.
but their quality of life would be very poor.
Uh-huh.
Is it ethically justifiable to put them through that?
Mm-hmm.
And in these situations, open communication with the patient and their families is paramount.
So important.
Sometimes the kindest and most ethical choice is to focus on comfort and palliative care,
Okay.
rather than pursuing really aggressive interventions.
So sometimes doing nothing
Mm-hmm.
or less is more.
Right.
It takes incredible courage to have these conversations
Because.
and make those decisions.
Mm-hmm.
On top of all of this,
Yeah.
surgeons also have to navigate
Yeah,
potential conflicts of interest.
absolutely.
Like financial incentives from medical device companies, for instance.
Surgeons are human.
Yeah.
And like anyone, they can be influenced by external factors.
Right.
So imagine a new expensive device is being marketed.
Mm-hmm.
A surgeon might feel pressured to use it,
Yeah.
even if a less expensive option is equally effective.
Right.
So transparency
Hmm.
and a commitment to evidence-based medicine
Yeah.
are crucial.
To making sure patient care stays the top priority.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a lot to think about.
Mm-hmm.
It really highlights the human side of surgery.
It does.
It's not just about cutting and stitching.
Mm-hmm.
It's about making really thoughtful,
Yes.
ethical choices
At every turn.
at every turn.
Yes.
So for anyone listening,
Mm.
the key takeaway is this.
Yeah.
Be an active participant in your own health care.
Please.
Ask questions.
Yes.
Understand the risks and benefits.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid to have those tough conversations.
With your doctors.
With your doctors.
Absolutely.
We've explored informed consent,
Yes.
resource allocation,
Mm-hmm.
end-of-life care,
Yeah.
conflicts of interest,
Mm-hmm.
just a glimpse into this really complex world of surgical ethics.
Absolutely.
It's a reminder that even in the most technologically advanced operating rooms,
Mm-hmm.
that human element remains at the heart of every decision.
Yeah, it does.
It really does.
It does.
As you go about your day,
Mm-hmm.
think about this.
Yes.
What do you believe
Mm-hmm.
should be the guiding principles for making these difficult ethical decisions in surgery?
That's a great question for everybody to ponder.
It really is.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into surgical ethics.
It's been a pleasure being here.
We'll be back with more deep dives into fascinating topics soon.
Definitely.
So make sure you follow and share.
We'll see you next time.
See ya.
Mm-hmm. Bye.